There we go. Yay! All right, so if you guys remember last year, we had the uneducated economist come in and keynote that just crushed. He loved it so much, he came back. He's like, I want to do that again. So he will be keynoting tomorrow. So tomorrow's keynote, not a surprise. Uneducated economist back in the house will crush it again. But I sat back and had brainstormed with Olivia. How many in here have met Olivia? Woo! She is definitely the better half, the smarter half, all of that. I definitely married up, so no question. Get that off the table right now. But we were talking about who could potentially do this. And you got to remember, this is 11 months ago. And I was just like throwing out names of people we've bumped into and all of that. And we both came to this name, and we were like, come on. No chance. No chance. Well, as the year went on, it went from a 5% chance to a 20 to a 30. And ultimately, I got a note earlier this week that he was able to make it happen in his extremely busy schedule. So I'm happy to have him. And the most important part of the story of this speaker to me, is this channel, one rental at a time, why most of the people in this room are here. Some of you got dragged. I'm sorry. I understand. I get it. But this channel would not exist without this young man. This young man is somebody I plugged into years ago, somebody who was telling his story, somebody who was talking about real estate, and I'm like, hey, I got more than 6 units, right? I got some stuff. And he just sparked that. And I was in Taiwan in the back of the car, and you guys probably have heard this story. I've been lucky enough to meet him a couple of times, and I have the pleasure of introducing all of you to one of the rare times that he does this, Mr. Graham Stephan. Let's go. He didn't see you.
Hey, wow. This is cool. Thank you.
All right, so you can just take a seat there. We'll do that. So we'll get, actually, why don't we just do a quick introduction? Who are you again?
Graham Stephan. It's guys here.
Introduce your partner in crime.
And we have Alex, who worked with me for a few years, and he's here to answer any YouTube questions, too.
There you go. So again, what happens at my events when I bring a speaker on stage? Do you guys remember? There's a line that currently has 0 people over there. I'm guessing that some of you are going to want to ask Graham Stephan some questions, maybe about finance, maybe about real estate, maybe about why he left California, maybe about the fact that he's going back and building ADUs. He's doing all of these things. He is a true giver. Talk about iced coffee hour. There's so many things that Graham could talk about. So again, start the lineup. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions because I know you guys are shy. You're not used to a line. There's 2 people in it. This is Graham freaking Stephan, people. What the hell are you doing? You guys are just in awe? He's real. Look, you can touch him. He does exist. He's just not on the screen. So, Graham, to start this off, why don't you, just in case there's like one person that doesn't know you, give your resume, your history, real estate starting back in the day to kind of where it is today.
Yeah, so I started in 2008 as a real estate agent. Really, the market had just peaked and was going down. And from there, I built up a career selling residential real estate in Los Angeles. 2016, end of 2016, I started making YouTube videos for fun. And then 2020, when everything shut down, is where I went full-time doing YouTube. 2021, Alex came on the team, and really we expanded. We were doing 5 channels at the peak, posting 11, 12 videos a week. It was quite a bit. So now I'm pretty much just doing YouTube, mostly the podcast. Mike was on the podcast a few months ago. And that's who I am.
There you go. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
So one of the things that I think would be great to hear from you, again, you started your real estate investing career at the bottom. I really love the fact that your origin story, you were not above just getting lease signings, right? You would do anything to get that money. It wasn't just about the big listings. and all of that. And again, I've had you on my channel. You talked about your passion back when you were a younger kid about coral and fish. You've always had this ability to find your thing and just go all in. And I think that's just amazing. So just talk about the importance of just finding your passion and just going for it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was working as an agent doing leases, to me never felt like work. It was always something that I would just be doing regardless. And for leases, when I started, I mean, it was just no competition because the leases paid next to nothing. I mean, some of these commissions would be like a few $100s. I'd be chasing them around for months to make that. And no other agent wanted it. But the good thing from doing those leases is that after a while, eventually those people would either refer me other business. A few of them ended up buying a place, so I would help them on the sale. They would use me. A few years later, then they would sell their place, use me as well. From that listing, I'd get maybe 2 other listings, meet a few other buyers. It really started small. But one of the main takeaways in the very beginning was that I didn't care how much money I made. It was really just because first I enjoyed it. And it was almost all I could do because no one else was doing it, and it was all I could get. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. The other thing that you've brought recently to the channel, I think in the last 30 days, maybe 45 days, is you're actually going back to your portfolio in California and looking for opportunities to add ADUs.
Yeah.
So talk about why that's exciting to you.
Yeah, so this is something for the last few years I've been looking at real estate, and it's been very, very, very difficult without a lot of work up front. And one of the main reasons I haven't decided to buy anything is just because I know how much work I'd have to put in. And when I look at the amount of work I'd have to put in on a property, fixing it up and finding the right tenants versus just traveling and getting better guests on the podcast has a higher ROI. So I basically just put that off. But I started looking at ADUs recently, and there was a company that basically does it all for you. And I spoke with them. I looked through the numbers. I'm going to spend about $215,000 building a 2-bedroom, 700 square feet. I'm hoping to rent it between $2,200 to $2,600 a month. And so, yeah, so it's more than a 10% cash-on-cash ROI. And I'm looking at that thinking, that makes sense to do even in Los Angeles, even with all the restrictions involved in that. That one makes sense. So that's what I'm looking at. So I'm doing my first project now. I'm hoping a year from now, if it goes well, then I'm going to do more of them.
And Alex, I got to ask, what's it like working with a guy who's a perfectionist, who's just always on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Nothing's ever perfect, and you can tell when somebody's as successful as Graham is. I mean, we would, even when it comes to YouTube, he would treat it the same way as how he approaches real estate. So we would be editing at midnight, and it can be 1 frame off. And for those of you guys that don't know how much a frame is in editing, it's like 1/24th of a second. Yeah, and he would be like, oh, that pause was like 1 or 2 frames too long, or 1 or 2. But you have to approach it that way if you want to be successful. And, you know, because of that, I went on to have a successful career in YouTube past Graham too. And if there's any creators, I'm happy to take questions on YouTube as well.
Here's a question for you, Alex. Yeah. What is the most important? Again, if you're a new creator, how many folks in the have a channel or thinking about having a channel?
Wow, there's actually a good amount in here.
And look at that. Yeah. We got some people for you.
Heck yeah.
So let's assume I recorded the video. Let's assume it's okay. We're going to take the whole editing it out. Thumbnail, title, I don't know what these words at the bottom are. What are those things called? What
description?
Yeah. I'm teasing. That was a joke. You don't know my sense of humor. What is the order of priority a new creator, not a professional like Graham, but like?
Honestly, the first order before that is consistency. Yeah.
Who does consistency here?
Yeah. To be honest, it's the hardest. And I work with large creators, and I struggle with it on my personal channel, right? But consistency is first, and then beyond that is the content itself. So what separates you from Graham? Because Graham had his own experience of what makes him unique. So what's going to separate you? Are you doing leases and like that's your thing, and like you're going to niche down and get an audience of people who are like really into leases? Or are you in a tough market like Los Angeles and people just like the story of seeing you go in and fix them up and flip them? What separates you? So actually, before the title, before everything, you have to make sure that you can stand out from everybody else.
All right, let's go one level deeper. So we got to stand out. What does that mean to a creator who's thinking about a channel? They've just got a channel. What would be? Do they got to wear funny hats and like purple hair, or what do you mean stand out?
No. I guess it's the same thing of where you have your advantage in real estate. So if you know the market of where you live and whatever city you live in, let's say that's your advantage. You know this place in and out better than anybody else. And maybe people can't come in and fly to your city and make money on real estate because you know where they're going to sell, you know how much they're priced, you know what it is. So it's the same thing but with knowledge. So like there's people online who specialize in like seller finance or like all these things, right? If you know that in and out better than anybody else, then
Go
that's
there.
your thing.
Find your lane and go.
Yeah, find your lane and just stick to it. And then
Great advice.
once you conquer that, then you can expand like what Graham did into more broader personal finance because real estate spans into that. If you're good at buying real estate, if you're good at doing this stuff, likely you have good financial habits. And then you can use that to bring in people who may not have known, let's say you're into seller finance, who may not have known about seller finance, but they're into personal finance. And then that's how you hook them in and that's how you grow.
I love it. I love it. All right, we'll give it back to Graham. I got one more question, and then I will bring the mic over there, so I'm coming to you in a minute. We just had we have a new president. He's talking tariffs. We have an economy in a recession, not in a recession. Just give me, Graham, your kind of, where are we state of the union in the U.S. economy, in your opinion?
Gosh, I mean, I have a feeling it's probably going to be pretty good to be a real estate investor. I'm guessing that most likely all of the, yeah, there we go. All of you guys. There we go. So I'm guessing a lot of the tax cuts that were passed in 2017 are going to continue. That's the expectation. I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of accelerated depreciation. It would be really good for cost segregation. I think there's going to be a lot of advantage on that end. I don't know in terms of like labor cost or if the price of wood is going to be going up 20%, if that's going to negate some of the advantages. But I would say tax-wise, there's probably a lot of advantages that go along with that.
I saw a very funny. So on X yesterday, Mr. Beast awarded the $10 million prize. You come in over the top saying, take $2 million, buy an apartment building, do a cost seg, don't pay the tax man. I thought that was amazing. Not that I follow him or anything.
I think I told his wife to be a real estate professional. There's still time in the year to get that done. So as long as one of them does that, I think they're good. Thank you.
Hi, Graham and Alex. I've been following you since 200,000 subscribers, so it's been a little while.
Thank you.
But congratulations on all your success. Yeah. My question for you, so my bachelor's is in finance and economics, and my passion back in the day was helping people with financial literacy. I see people like Caleb Hammer kind of doing something already in those regards. And my question to you was, is that something that you think that I should continue to try to tackle and actually start posting, or do you think it's time to pivot?
Yeah, I would just continue posting like Alex said. I think the most important, probably get those first 20 videos out, and they're going to suck, and they're going to be really awkward, but I think it's really important that you at least try those 20 videos, and by the 20th, you'll look back at your first one and think it's awful. Like, you're going to think it's the worst pile of dog crap ever, but you'll get better, and you'll kind of find a niche. I wouldn't try to copy Caleb exactly, but like find what you're good at uniquely and just roll with that. That's what I would do. Cool. Thank you.
So I've followed you guys, or you particularly, Graham, since I think it's about 2019. I stumbled on YouTube, and I think it was right when you started doing some of your YouTube content, and I was like, this guy's straight to the point, in terms of being vulnerable, explaining, your real estate journey. And so I had just went through selling a house and was lucky enough that when we bought it in 2015 that we were able to walk out of the property 120% of what we bought it for. So that was the aha moment, like real estate is a way to get wealth. But that was also leading into COVID, and went through, life in transition, went through separation, divorce, back to being married again with my wife, and just crazy enough. But we've started our real estate journey. We're still relatively new. We got a duplex, we got a short-term rental, and now we're working on a commercial property. For someone who's still like relatively new in their real estate journey, if you were to have to start over again, where would you start with today's market conditions, and what would you do?
Yeah, I think the biggest opportunity right now that a lot of people don't realize is that you could assume most FHA loans. I don't know if that's something you've talked about. Interest rates are so unbelievably high right now that it doesn't make sense in terms of like cash flow. It's really, really, really difficult unless you're finding a gem or a needle in a haystack. But I think there's a lot of opportunity trying to find some sort of FHA that you could take over, get those locked in low payments, and then rent it out with the cash flow above it. But if I were starting over again, that's what I would probably be doing, is going through, even if it's door to door, calling off-market properties, looking at expired listings, just things like this. That's what I would be doing, and I wouldn't be afraid to put in a lot of work to fix up a place that just hasn't been touched for years. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd house hack. My podcast host, Jack, he rents out all of his bedrooms to his friends, and I think if he's not making a bit of a profit, like he's at least breaking even every single month on his mortgage. So I think that if you're cool with roommates, I think that is an unbelievable opportunity. You're welcome.
Hi, Graham. My name's Harrison. I want to say thank you very much for posting all the time. I'm a third shift welder at a shipyard up in Maine. Many hours of the night I've been spending listening to your stuff. Actually, it was sucks. But working at a bar on the weekends. But you and Zuber were the two that kind of kicked me off on the financial journey. So thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah. I'm currently up to 7 units. I'm at a point where I just bought a small commercial building, and I feel like I'm at a next stepping stone where it's super decisive. Do I consolidate and try to pay off this? I have a 4-unit and a 3-unit. I use a HELOC on the 4-unit for a down payment on the 3-unit. I'm wondering, do I keep trying to expand my portfolio, or do I consolidate that 3-unit? My overall goal is to get to $10,000 a month cash flow. If I pay off the 3-unit, I'll be able to do that. So would you try to keep expanding, or would you just consolidate and just pay off that 3?
I think that really just depends on your risk tolerance. I think
Right.
I don't think there's any harm in playing it a bit safe. But at the same time, I mean, if you have the income to be able to sustain any vacancies or issues that might come up by taking up a HELOC, and I don't know what your interest rate is or what the spread you're getting on that.
Sure.
But if you have the income to sustain that, and you have the risk tolerance to say, well, the worst case scenario is I end up paying out of pocket X amount, but I could afford it, and I'm good with that, then I don't see the issue in it. But at the same time, like at this point where I am, I'm very like risk averse. Like I'd rather just no headaches and just take it easy. So I think it really just, I think it's more of a personal choice than anything. I don't think you could go wrong either way.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it.
You said at this point, Graham, I think you've always been risk averse. But
So. Yeah, okay. All right, fair. Yeah. All right.
I'm Matt Gouget, Matt the Mortgage Guy, so you've seen me in your comments.
Yes.
I've been a long-time
Thank you.
follower.
Of course.
I've actually been posting on YouTube longer than you. I've been on there for 10 years. So
Congrats.
I just don't have as many
You beat
subs,
me.
guys. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Mortgage isn't exciting as all the stuff you're talking about. But this question's for both you guys. This is like honest and vulnerable from my seat. I've gone through so many iterations where sometimes I do shorts, sometimes my stuff's edited, sometimes it's not. You know, a lot of people in this room probably watch my stuff, 1,500 plus videos. And I honestly feel like I'm in a place where I don't know what to do with the YouTube channel. Like, should I do all long form? Should I do longs and some shorts? Should I have them edited? Should I not? And so this year I'm trying to figure it out. Of also the consistency piece, I was really good at the beginning, and then business blew up, and I focused on business and kind of not so much on YouTube. So I guess a better question probably is YouTube's consistently changing. It's different than it was last year and 5 years ago. If it was one thing I could do as not a new creator, but as someone who's got 30,000 subs and 1,500 videos under my belt, what could I do that's not going to detract from my main business? I want to continue to grow the channel and like educating people and helping people is the goal. That's what it has always been. And I feel like, I don't know, I've just lost traction on the channel.
Yeah. I'll answer first, and I'll give it to Alex. So I'm thinking what I'm noticing is the best seems to be edited long form and then shorts in between. And even if you're posting once a week, just a great long form video that's edited, that's concise, that hooks a viewer with a good title and thumbnail, usually that's sufficient to last you the week. In your case, it could be 10 days, it could be 5 days, whatever. Shorts are really good when you do a very to-the-point, catchy short for something maybe like, mortgage rates hit 7%, here's what this means for you, and how much it's gonna cost to buy this property. There's a guy on TikTok who's blowing up right now doing mortgage content, and his thing is that, some guy comes in, it's all staged, it's a little corny, but some guy comes in and says, all right, I make 120 grand a year, what can I buy? And then the guy just goes, okay, 120 grand a year. What's your this? What's your this? And they do like a fake scene. And then at the end, he's like, okay, you're pre-approved to buy a home that's $400,000 with 20% down. It's really interesting. So I think if you did some of those would do really well. They're just like people are curious. If I make 150 grand a year, what can I buy? So that's what I would do. I'll give it to Alex.
I think that Graham's right, but I think he also missed out on some important points. And I think that's... I think he assumes that your priorities are the same as his. And from listening to you, it doesn't sound like you have clear priorities. And what I mean by that is there's a couple ways to take the YouTube channel and monetize it. And one way is to do what Graham did and make videos appealing to a mass audience. And every choice that you make has to support that goal. But then when I heard you, you also said, well, I also wanted to like support the business, meaning you want customers. And you can do both, but you can't be the best at both, because there's people like, for example, Ryan Pineda makes videos, and he will not get as many views as Graham doing that style of content specifically, because he's focused on capturing more customers. And so I think the YouTube's always changing, and you'll always have to look in to see what's doing well, and I agree with those points, but I think that you have to ask yourself, is your primary goal for YouTube to capture more customers or to grow the audience? And then every decision that you make will be based around that. Yeah.
I was going to say that actually, but thanks, Alex.
Okay, Graham, longtime follower, you've done some excellent interviews. I've got to know which one was most impactful to you besides Zuber. I mean, you know,
besides Zuber.
Who was the one that really said, yeah, I learned a lot from that interview?
Oh, gosh. I mean, there's a lot of them. Most impactful. I want to say Alex Hormozy's first podcast that we did with him, because I went in really not being familiar with him at all. He blew me away. Alex Hormozy was fantastic. And surprisingly, Ty Lopez, when we had him on the first time, because I had seen his ads from like 2013 onwards, and hearing him speak, he is so knowledgeable. And he showed up just by himself. He was so nice. He was so friendly. He was, to me, maybe one of the most surprising, and just very kind, very knowledgeable. He's someone we could talk to for probably 5 or 6 hours. I think Alex was there for that. He was just incredibly friendly.
So a second question, if you could sell a property, come into some serious cash, would you put it in the market to diversify, or would you put it back into real estate?
I mean, it depends on the property. If it's as difficult as it is now, and I'm just looking for something easy, I'd probably do, index funds with maybe 10 to 20% a Bitcoin ETF as my like risky side. That's probably what I'd end up doing, and just not touching it forever.
Thank you.
So got a YouTube two-parter and then a rentals one-parter that kind of feeds off that one. So
all right.
Let's say if you are starting brand new, what are some things that you would think about in terms of specializing in a niche for a YouTube channel? And then let's say a little bit further down the road, once you've got a few followers and under your belt, listening to the audience, of course, is going to be important in terms of getting feedback on things, in terms of what types of content to put out. What type of weighting or consideration would you give? Like, would it be that's your North Star in terms of like, hey, the audience wants to see or hear more of this? Or would you kind of go like 50-50, or like what kind of consideration would you give?
Yeah, in the beginning, I think it's really important to do a topic that you're like genuinely passionate about, that you love talking about, that you would do regardless. Because a lot of people go into it thinking, in stock investing is where everyone wants to see, and even though you might not be into it, but you just do those, and it shows. In the very beginning is very tough to get something to take off. So if you're doing it looking at the metrics, you're just going to get discouraged and quit. So I would say if you love a topic, that's number one. As you begin to grow, like at this point, I'm kind of 50-50, where I really lean on the audience, where I know if there's a certain topic that people want to hear, I'll talk about it, even though I might not be interested in it, because the audience is. So I do it for that. So that's what I would do, at least in the beginning. You just got to love the topic, and I'll see if Alex has anything else.
Yeah, just at the beginning, I think it's important to double down on your wins, which is basically what Graham was saying. A good example is Graham's wife now. She has a Lego channel, and this is going to sound random, but it's going to connect in a second here. So when she makes videos on floral Lego, they do well. So that being said, at the beginning, you're going to have no North Star. So shoot for whatever you like to do. And then once you see the videos that start to do well, for example, in her case, floral Lego. In your case, it might be maybe fix and flips. It might be people like the drama from you and a tenant and you're sending them a letter because they're destroying your property. I don't know. Yeah. But once those do well, I would say double down on that. And sometimes the comments are noise. So sometimes they'll say they don't like something, but then they do the best. That's always up to you on how you want to read that, but analytics don't lie. So,
okay, no, that definitely makes sense. And then for the rentals question, and I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but if you had to look at other markets, again, given how busy you are, would you consider let's call it out of state, or different areas outside of California to invest?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider it. I would just have to really know the market and be confident. That's the hardest part, because at least here in Vegas, you could drive down all the areas, at least for me, and I see where people are moving, and I see where all the demand is, and I see what's coming up. It's hard to do out of state. You could absolutely do it, but just having that knowledge, I think, is really important.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
And thank you so much.
Hey.
I wanted to say you both were, and Jack and Macy were all my wife's favorite YouTubers when you guys were so nice to us at the Pokemon Saves the World event a few years ago.
Yeah, that's so
you
cool.
guys were awesome.
Thank you.
Very genuine. So
thank you.
I want to say that first, but I was curious with the way that you're shooting, and how quick would you change to multi-camera setups versus single camera setups, especially with the podcast and everything?
Yeah, the podcast, we have 3 cameras, one wide and then one on us, one on the guest. We found that's the best. Some podcasts even do just 2 cameras, as one on either guest. We throw the third angle in. It helps when you cut up the podcast, you switch to the third every now and then. It helps make it a little more seamless. 3 cameras is plenty. I don't know if there's something you want to chime in.
Yeah, for podcasts, he's totally right. One thing I want to point out for, if you're shooting content by yourself, is not to overdo it, because sometimes it's easy because we already spent all this money on all this equipment. But believe it or not, there's a strategy in looking more genuine by having one camera. If you notice, even to this day, Graham only has one camera on his main channel. So podcast, different beast. But if you're creating content for yourself, sometimes you can use multiple cameras, but there is a wall that makes it feel less production-y and allows you to connect better with your audience by strategically using one camera and maybe zooming into it a little bit to add change, but without making it seem like a business presentation where now you're looking at me from this side, but I'm facing this way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. And last question is that you guys had really great banter when you were on the podcast, Alex. Did you guys see more views or more items that way, or was it just... that was my question.
No, we didn't see any more views. We didn't really see much more engagement, maybe a little bit. I would say that's just really for the people who watch every single episode, 9 a.m. when it drops. They're the ones that watch it. We get most of our views from just browse and just recommendations. I would say of the people who consistently watch, it's maybe 10,000 out of 1.2 million. So it's a pretty small, but yes, those people really like the banter, but everyone else, 95%, they didn't care.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Hey, Jeff Suey, Mastercrit University. We have a small YouTube channel, about 9,000 subs. I've done over 1,000 videos for sure. But you guys mentioned consistency. That is my biggest challenge. I'm not like Zuber where I just do everything without editing. I'm in your camp. So I want to learn how do I think my constraint is it's not about lack of content. Me and my team of talent, we could talk till we're blue in the face, okay? We have plenty of good ideas for our niche. We have an outcome. We know we want to generate audience, to create leads for a niche specific. We've got several verticals within a specific niche. That's not an issue. We've been in business over 20 years. but we're at about 2 long-form edited videos per month on a good month. And so I see my constraint, my bottleneck, after we shot the raw video in the editing. We've outsourced it. I've tried to do it myself. It's just hours and hours and hours, or someone else who does not have the same standards with our economics that we can currently pay. What would you advise to try to get to that weekly video without pulling a Zuber?
So it's just the editing that's holding you back?
Yeah, we make tons of raw videos, and then we push it to our editing team. They create something that I'm like, oh my gosh, there's 50 different, frame IO, 50 different items, 100 different items that we have to give them, and they come back, they turn it back around. They're great. They turn it around in 24 hours. Now I got to go back and spend an hour looking at it again and giving them more feedback. It's like 3 to 5 of those turnaround iterations to get it to the point where it's barely passable, in my opinion.
Where are they located?
Oh, the editors?
Yeah.
They're not domestic.
Okay. I've noticed that there is a bit of a language barrier, and just culturally, what they look for is going to be different than the audience you might be going for. My guess is it's expensive to hire a really good editor here, and they're going to charge you a lot of money. My guess is that it would be better training, but if they're not getting it, that might be tough. Alex could be a better resource on this one, I think, because I do a lot of the editing myself.
I think that I'd have to look at your content, but based off of what I'm assuming, it sounds like right now you're firing with a shotgun and you need a sniper rifle. So it sounds like you're spitting out all the content, and to you it may seem in your head like you have all this content, but maybe try narrowing it down and being more specific, because if your editors are sending you back 50 clips, to me that's not a good sign unless your channel specifically runs on clips. Which is a strategy.
That was just feedback, like 50 items of feedback on one 15 to 25 minute long form video. Just trying to get that one kicked out.
Yeah, I would start looking at this point, it sounds like you have enough videos under your belt to where I think you need to look at what the quality problem is with the video. So maybe have you looked at the retention graphs and all that stuff, and maybe set goals within your own team for retention and stuff like that?
Yes, and like I said, I'm not even at one long form per week. So what I'm assuming, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming I got to hit that consistency before I can be that concerned about the metrics. Is that not correct?
I think there was a time where you needed to post at least once a week. I think now the way that YouTube is, you can get away with posting twice monthly and continue to grow a channel. However, you have to be very intentional with those videos. That's why it's very hard. And you need to, the first thing I usually tell people, again, I would need to look at the channel, but the first thing that I tell people is spend 1 hour or 1 to 2 hours on the first minute of the video. Because half the time, the problem that I see with my clients is, oh, you just didn't introduce the hook, and the content inside is good, meaning you know your stuff, but you didn't hook people enough to let them continue watching. So there's a lot of ifs, but that's one of the most common ones that I think you might be running into if you look at it. Yeah.
So assuming we've got good hooks, we retain past that first minute on a good video. It's, we're gonna screw up from time to time. Assuming that, should I be pushing for that weekly consistency, or should I just keep trying to up quality? Just generally, obviously, without looking at myself.
Yeah, if your budget allows, I would definitely aim for the 1 a week. And I know it's hard for most people. Even if you have the skills, it's freaking hard, But that's
Amen.
definitely that's the North Star that you know for sure is there,
Yeah.
that you should definitely aim for. Yeah.
Very cool.
Hi, Graham.
Hey.
I have a question for you, and that is, this is going to be more of a real estate question than a YouTube video question that you've been. So my question is, if you were a new investor and you were going to potentially need to get a leasing agent, hire a leasing agent that's in another part of the country than you live, knowing what you know now, because you were a leasing agent for a while, knowing what you know now, what would be what would be your top 3 questions that you would ask them with the experience you have now, putting yourself in a real estate investor who's trying to find a leasing agent like 3,000 miles away?
Yeah, I'd ask if they're going to be getting professional photography. I think that's one of the big ones that a lot of leasing agents, they don't really care. They don't have the money for it. And they'll just take pictures with their iPhone. And that's pretty bad. And so just good photography, I think, goes a long way. That would be the first thing. I'd also ask how many leases they do. And I think the most important for me is how responsive they are. If you call them and they just don't pick up and it takes you like a day to hear back, or you email them, like it's always a good sign when you call and they pick up their phone. Like that for me, they already won like a whole bunch of points. Or they email and then you send them an email at like 11 p.m. and like 11:07 they get back to you. Like I love that. And so as a tenant, you have to think if it's hard for you to reach them, it's going to be hard for a tenant to reach them. And sometimes if a tenant calls like 5 different places and one of them calls back, you're going to be so much more likely to go with that one that just called back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey guys, I got a question for Graham and Alex. I own a photo and video production company in Seattle. And, one of the questions I have for you, Graham, is how do you, avoid the burnout, of content creation? And how do you inspire yourself to keep it fresh and keep wanting to do it?
Yeah, listen, I get burnt out. I think I just force myself sometimes to do it. And I'll just give myself a task where if I really don't feel like it that day, what I'll do, sounds silly, but I'll promise myself I could get all-you-could-eat sushi at like 10 p.m. And I give myself the whole, and I don't do that until, that for me, it's stupid, but like that does it for me, because then it's like, oh, well, at least I get all-you-could-eat sushi and I just do this thing. But there are some times, too, where I just really don't feel like it, and I just start, and that usually will help. The other thing I've noticed that helps me, if you're in a creative rut where sometimes like you just sit there and like you just can't think of anything, changing the environment helps. So if I'm in my office, it's not working, I might go outside and try to work from an outdoor chair, or maybe from the living room, or just changing up scenery, I think really helps.
Thank you.
There's a really quick thought to that. Graham also treated me like, I don't know how to explain it, but he hired me and then treated me like his manager. Like, he would tell me like, oh yeah, I got to get this video. I promised Alex I'd get it to him by 11 p.m. so he could have it done by 11 a.m. And so like, even though he hired me, that's what he would tell people. And he held true to it, because I know it's weird, but if you have employees, like having a dynamic of like being in the same mindset to get to the same goal and being like, oh, sorry, I can't do that. I got to get this to Alex by this time. It was a weird feeling at first, but it really helped, I think, at least for you.
There was even a time where I had Alex, I think we tried this for a week, stay and watch me work so I wouldn't get distracted. I don't know if it worked, but sometimes I'd just be like on my phone, or just like, you get a distraction. But like if Alex is there working while I'm working, then I feel like maybe I should be working more. I don't know if that worked or not, but we tried it.
Awesome. Alex, this is my question for you, content creator to another content creator, right? I have my teams and we create these awesome videos for our clients, but what ends up happening is I tend to not be inspired to create my own videos, right? Because every time I pick up a camera, it feels like work, right? So I just want to know your techniques where you make it fun again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person, because I make my whole living working for other creators, right? And I struggle with the same thing. But this is going to sound weird. One thing that I challenged myself this year, and I'm in the fortunate enough position to be able to do this, but you can find something in the same way. I've made myself contractually obligated to make a video on like a laser cutter this year, because this company sent me this like $12,000 laser cutter. And I'm not doing it just for the product. The only thing I have to do is make a video with it. I don't have to pitch it. But now I'm contractually obligated. It's kind of like Graham, where you make somebody responsible and you don't want to let somebody down, because we all have great work ethic in this room, I'm sure. But that's the only thing that's helped me push through. Also, I've made a bet with a friend, and I told him if I don't post this video, I owe you $500. And I'll be honest, I missed the deadline the first time. And I went up to him and I gave him $500, and he gave me the opportunity to post it within 3 days, and he'd give me my $500 back. So I did. It was Kong. Yeah, so my friend gave me anyway. It's hard, but if it stings, that's the only way you're gonna learn, and that's the only thing that's helped me. Again, running a business for other people, that's the only thing that's helped me.
Thank you. And Graham, thanks for all the random photos that you say that you put like cats and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, the kitten. Here's a tadpole. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, Graham and Alex. I'm Sarah from Savannah. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank both of you guys. You guys got me through a really hard time during COVID when I was homeschooling my highly gifted, now 14-year-old. And so my son learned a lot from you guys in the videos that you posted, and he was able to make thousands of dollars in the stock market because of what you guys helped me to homeschool.
I hope
so
it was
thank
within a Roth IRA.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
We got you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
cool. Thank you.
Hi, Graham and Alex. We
Hey.
have been following you, Graham, for a long time. We loved your video with Norma. I also follow her.
Oh, cool.
I'm Molly from Vancouver, and I'm a realtor, not so much an investor, but I am starting to invest. My question is about YouTube. So I do make videos, not really consistently, so I already know I need to do that. But I'm really curious how you were able to grow your channel so quickly and efficiently, because I really do want to direct people back to my channel for real estate reasons, but I also would like to grow my channel and make money off of it. And so I also, sorry, there's a lot of questions here. I also post personal stuff and fun stuff, and like me jumping into a pool of a house that I'm selling, it got like 300,000 views, but now I'm kind of like plateaued. So I guess my question is, what's your secret sauce? And do I need to hire an editor? Because I don't mind doing it myself.
It depends on what you're doing. So the way I got started, there really wasn't any finance content on YouTube at all. It was really Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, Alex Becker, and like a few other smaller channels. And that was it. So when I came in and I could apply YouTube thinking to finance, there was really very little competition. Now it is very competitive and the bar is pretty high. For realtor content, I'm getting a lot of what I do when I try to think of what content to post is look at your recommendations and then see what you're getting served by, let's say, YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and look at their views and what they're doing. And right now, it seems like a lot of the somewhat gimmicky, like realtor house tours. What is it? Rapping realtors. If you could rap, maybe that's a. Okay. But it does seem like a lot of the funny like realtor videos, I like one that I saw that I loved was some realtor was like, here's the best house to go hide and seek in. And it was
Whisper one, the ASMR, they're like, this one's really good for like hiding in the closet.
stuff like that, but it's unique. It's like when you're scrolling, or there's one where the lady was like walks out front of the open house, gets hit by a car, and then all of a sudden shows up in it's fake. I mean, it's just but like but the car just like the bus just like smacks her, and then she's in the house. All right, guys, let me show you this 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom, charming little cottage. It's so funny that I think you need just a fun hook. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I have a quick thought for that too. In terms of like posting personal and stuff like that, you just have to think about it from the audience point of view. So the most common question that I get, that's the same question but in disguise, is, should I post this hour-long podcast on my channel where I post 10-minute long videos? And the answer I usually tell people is it the same audience? And typically it's not. Now, it depends. Like for Graham's channel, it was, because the people who are interested in his flips are also interested in how he makes his $2 breakfast in the morning. It's weird, right? But so you have to ask yourself that question. And if the jumping in the pools at houses you're selling worked, then I would double down on it and make a compilation of the top 5 pools for the house that you're selling, and then you jumping into them. Just like in a suit or something, it'd be funny. But yeah, I don't know. You have to read your audience, but
I'll let you guys know how this goes.
Double down. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Good luck.
So much. Thank you.
Hey guys, Michael Manatskanian from Monterey area. Been watching you for a long time. You and Zuber at the same time, and then Meet Kevin was like my trifecta of financial education, especially during COVID before I bought my first deal.
Cool.
But at this point, I'm like a pretty successful real estate investor, have a solid portfolio and all that. I jumped into the coaching space, won the school games, met Hermosi, and I asked him something similar. He wasn't very helpful in this regards because he's like, just do the work, and he's got a huge production team, like a massive production team. And he explained how much money he spends and all that. And I am now trying to transition more into the content space, want to do a lot more informational content. It's not trying to go overly gimmicky. I don't really care necessarily about virality. I really want to help people out as much as possible for free. And then ideally I have my paid community, so then there's gonna be some conversion from that. So it's kind of that split. I think that's what I just heard you say, Alex, about like, I'm trying to do two different things. Maybe that's why. But my question to you is, not that money is not an object, or like money's not like a huge factor in the sense of like, I just don't know, who do I hire? How do I do this? Like real estate, I know how to do that. Content and creating that, like I don't even know who should be on my team, and like who should I hire, and like what is a key role or hire to have for that content side of the business that can really help me with strategize and then look at the analytics and help out with that side of the business. Someone to work with. I mean, it sounds like it's what you do, but
Yeah, Alex might be a bit. I mean, I'll give you my initial take on it. There was another realtor that reached out to me that they showed me their TikTok and they wanted to grow on that. It was awful, and they were hiring someone older who just didn't know it, but they kind of knew video production and editing. And I said, like, all you need to do is like hire a college kid who's just making their own TikToks, doesn't make any money from it, but they're good and they could spot trends. Hire that person. And what they did is I think they put out a few job listings. They found someone who was getting about 20, 30,000 views per TikTok, but just wasn't making any money, and they hired that person. And it's going well for them. So that's maybe the approach that I would take, but you have to find someone who, if it's content, that's all they consume, because there are going to be like weird little trends that you could hop on.
Yeah, and I think if you have time, learning it is going to be your best key, because then you'll be able to hire somebody and know what you're looking at. I really respect Graham for this, because he started off not as a YouTube creator, but as a realtor who just had an interest in YouTube. And then by him being able to edit everything himself in iMovie, which if you guys don't know iMovie, it's like the free version of a program because you're too cheap to pay for it.
That's what I use.
So when I got to him, and he had, when I met you, 1.8 million subs, he was still editing in iMovie. And I had to like move him away from it. And then I stepped back, and he's probably using iMovie again. But the point is, I think if you know what you're looking at, and by that I mean you don't even have to edit on a computer. You can even edit on your phone, but learning what works to be able to then judge somebody else's skill and ability to do that will go a long way. Unless you have like no time, and then sometimes you can trade your money for somebody who's able to hire the right people. So
I mean, my question is like, what do I hire for? As I'm trying to shift into the content space, like, is that the logical next step on the team? Is me plus a video editor? Is that like the next person? Is that the first hire? Is someone who edits? I mean, it sounds like, Graham, you're able to do it without that, and then you just figured out your own content strategy. And I was gonna ask you about your content like strategy and all that, but it sounds like maybe video editing is the thing because it saves time. But it sounds like you just do your own video editing.
It depends on you. Like Graham, the last thing he outsourced was video editing. The first thing he outsourced was somebody holding a camera when he walked around. Yeah, so it just depends on your weaknesses, because somebody, like for example, Kevin, the last person that Kevin's gonna outsource is, I mean, he edits and films himself. I don't know what the heck he's gonna outsource. So it just depends on your skill. And some people don't even know how to touch an editing program. So their first logical step is definitely an editor. So I know it's kind of a hard question to answer, but I think outsourcing yourself and what you need the most help in is, nobody can answer that except for you. But I would say, if you have the time, learn how to do it yourself, even if it's for like 3 weeks, because then you'll be able to know how long it actually takes somebody. And because I run into people all the time who are like, I want to ramp up my content, but my editor takes like 4 weeks to get this video done. And in a normal, like coming from a commercial, like they're working on, like movies and stuff like that, sure, like projects take that long, but in YouTube, it's so fast paced that the same timeline is not applicable here. If we have videos that I work on that got shot and 1 week later they're uploaded, and we get like 20 plus million views on those types of projects. So knowing the industry that you're in will help you hire.
So then what you're saying is learn the process myself
Yeah.
and then practice it and then outsource that. How do you learn like what that process is? Because I just do it like I do live Q&As and live similar to what Zuber does, but that's not exactly like, I know I should be more intentional about it, and I just don't know specifically like what does that process look like. I mean, I get the gist, right? You have an idea, you record it, you edit the video, you make a thumbnail, a caption, you post it, and you do some analytics, but I don't even know what a lot of that means because I don't do that. I'm like getting into that, you know?
Yeah, if you're at a real estate conference, have you ever been to like a creator conference?
No. Oh, so there you go.
Yeah, totally look into it. And I would look into, the way it sounds like is you might be looking to meet Kevin more for inspiration on how he structures his business, because all of his are live, mostly Q&A, stuff like that. And the first thing that he outsourced instead of an editor and a filmer, I think the first thing he outsourced was research, kind of. And it was like light research of like, here's the docket and, you know.
Perfect. And then, Graham, one quick thing. So you said, although I've been talking for a long time, but you said that you just like start working. What does that mean? Like, what is a content creation process? I think a lot of us want to create content. We just don't know what that means to just start. I know last year we had the YouTube guy say, you know, just press record and all that. But it's like, what is your process? Like, you have an idea or you research for an idea. Like you mentioned, a good tip was you look at what is recommended to you, and that's a good idea of like the things that you think would be good and people are engaging in. And then leveraging that as ideas to script something out. And then,
so
I don't know
say,
even what that process.
Yeah, the first thing I do is I see what's doing well on YouTube, and just on a high level, like right now on YouTube, it seems like put Trump in the title and like Trump investments, Trump stock market, Trump tax cuts, Trump housing plan, like anything like that. I know right now is doing well because, just put Trump in the title of every Trump Impact 2026. Just something like, but I'm seeing that only because I'm on YouTube so much and I see every video that has that. Maybe the normal channel views are like 20,000 for this channel, but now they're getting 300,000 with this Trump topic. So then I know, okay, if I do a video about, or use Trump in the title and talk about something related to that over the next week, it's probably gonna do well. So now I got like a broad topic. And then I have to think, what could I say that's different from somebody else, or maybe something that someone's going to be curious about? For me recently, Trump had mentioned something about tax cuts, and I got a notification on Twitter that's like, oh, these tax cuts. So I researched it, and I know because Trump is doing well, talk about Trump tax cuts, and that's a video. Once I come up with a topic, then I'll sit down and I'll structure it out, and I just use like notes on my computer, and I'll write out a script, and I'll probably spend 4 to 10 hours on that script, and I script out word for word exactly what I would say as I would say it. So I don't try to make it too like formal, but I'll write how I like to speak. And then once I come up with a script, I'll just verbalize it. So I'll pretend like I'm saying the script in a video just without filming it. And then that way, if I notice some words don't really sound good or this part is confusing, I could just like, rearrange it in such a way where it flows perfectly. Once I get that, then I could film the video. And I don't use a teleprompter. What I end up doing is I memorize 3 to 6 sentences at a time, and I spew it back to the camera. And then 3 to 6 sentences at a time, spew it back to the camera. I'll just keep doing that until the whole video is filmed. Then I'll edit. Then I'll do title, thumbnail. And I'll spend a lot of time on the title, just trying to make sure it's catchy. And sometimes I'll bounce ideas off of Alex. I'm like, hey, which of these titles would you click on? Which of these thumbnails do you like? And Alex will say, oh, I like this, or what about this? I think having another person to bounce an idea off of is really invaluable. Because sometimes you'll think the title's great, and someone else is not, it's not really that good. I think this is better. So that's my entire flow.
Dude, thank you for that transparency. That no one's ever broken that down. I don't know if anyone really knows that insight, so thank you. That was insanely, massively beneficial. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, the entire process, start to finish, I would say, like, if I'm quick, 12 hours. Mm-hmm. If it's like a really in-depth video, maybe 18. But a lot of that's me just watching YouTube videos and just saying, is this a good topic? Is this a bad topic? What's getting views? That's the bulk of it. The hardest part is coming up with a good topic.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just learned. I'm not doing the work, Mike. That's the problem. I'm being lazy. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. My name's Angelo, local Gary, Indiana, millennial Mike's guy. And we got a good chunk of our community out. And I think that our community wants to know from both of you guys, your guys' experience on long distance and even affordable housing, because it's kind of our thing.
I really haven't done either, to be honest. Like, LA is probably one of the least affordable markets, and I've not bought a property out of state besides the one I live in here. I'm not qualified to probably answer that.
That's all
Sorry
right.
about
That's
that.
all right. Well, how about local? Any affordable housing experience locally?
Everything's unaffordable. Oh. I don't know. Pretty excited. Alex, you know what? Alex, you just bought a place. If you want to talk.
The only thing that I can say, and maybe this is kind of a double-edged sword, I have a friend back in California who does a lot of Section 8 housing, and his stories make for great YouTube content. But that's, yeah.
I got a contact for you. Jody, I don't know if I can. Jody is a local.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
This is the last question. We got a couple more minutes. Who wants to jump in?
Graham, this is a question for you. I'm from California. I'm Eric from San Diego. There's a lot of us from California here today, and I would say that the general sentiment is kind of been negative towards California.
Yeah.
and rightfully so, rightfully so. I watched your Santa Monica video, and it was heartbreaking, eye-opening, and now you've interviewed all these really important people, political, some not. So it's kind of two-part. What's your long-term vision on California? Do you think that we can recover from the insanity that we're currently living in? And then the second part is, you're a smart guy, you're logical. Would you ever run for politics?
No, I wouldn't. I would
vote for you. I would vote for you.
Thanks. I wouldn't. That's actually a really good question. I was talking to a longtime real estate investor recently who's in San Francisco. He's buying a ton. He said there has never been a better buying opportunity right now because everyone is afraid to invest their money in San Francisco, in California, San Francisco specifically because of the crime and a lot of businesses moving out. But he's saying he's getting incredible deals. And this is someone who's really wealthy and owns a lot of parking lots, commercial real estate, and he's doubling down. He's like, no one else sees what I see right now. This is the biggest opportunity I've ever had in my life. San Francisco has been so expensive. Now is where I'm like doubling down on everything that I have. And this is a guy like in his late 50s who's thinking this way. So I think there could be something to that. I can't imagine it getting worse than it already is. I really think listen, I think it's swung so far in one direction that maybe it's moving back a little bit. I think, for LA, if Rick Caruso wins, I think that could be a major benefit to LA. I would like to see things swinging back. It seems as though it's starting to, but I think they really got to figure out the homeless situation, the crime situation, the drug situation. They just voted against, there was a rent control memorandum that went to a vote yesterday, I believe, in Los Angeles, that would basically have a rent and eviction freeze because of the fires, which makes no sense but that was voted down. So I think there is some logic that's going in there. But then again, I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, my name's Charles. I'm from Peoria, Illinois. What's your goals? What's your exit? You've been able to grow and achieve what everybody here is looking to do. Where are you going? What's next for you, and what's your long-term exit? Where's your dreams?
I wish I knew. I'm still figuring it out, to be honest with you. I've tried thinking through anything I could possibly do. I don't know. So that's why I'm kind of continuing to do what I'm doing. Like, I love doing the podcast. So that's something for me. But, posting once a week with an interview is not, like, terribly time intensive. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't have an answer for you.
So when I'm in those situations, I'm like, well, what won't I do?
What won't I do? Yeah, politics. There we go. Yeah, listen, if I'm really, like, not into something, I won't do it. That's usually the baseline. But I really love making YouTube videos. I really love doing the podcast. I feel like I would like something more at some point. Probably not YouTube related, but what's this?
So I stopped working with Graham maybe 2 years ago, and we're obviously still friends and hang out all the time. But when I moved from his channel, which had 4 million when I left, I went to work on a channel that had 25 million. And it was really hard because imagine being hired on by somebody, and it's easy to see, like in Graham's position, like when working on the channel, how do we get from 200,000 views in a regular video to like 1 million? But then imagine going into a company and they're like, all right, Alex, we get 10 million views a video. Your job is to figure out, how do we get 30? And I'm just sitting there like, what do I do? And what I did, and I've been there now for almost a year and a half, and what I did was I sat in a room with a bunch of people and I had them introduce me to everybody. And my goal was to just continue to learn. And I guess I'm in a different mindset than Graham because I'm younger. I mean, I don't have as much money as Graham, but I'm better looking. So, you know, I had that going for me. No, but truthfully, I didn't know what to do. And so I sat there and I learned from everybody. And I learned that there are other avenues of like growing a channel and things that we didn't think about in our channel because it's a different, I'm no longer in finance, but like now I think about things like, for example, if you want to get from 10 million to 30 million, which I know it's not going to apply to a lot of people here, but the learning part will apply, is I had to start thinking like, okay, if I'm making a video about a Nerf gun, how many people in India know what a Nerf gun is, right? And then I had to change my way of thinking and say, okay, when I publish a video in India, I have to translate it to, for example, one of the videos we made was like making the world's smallest Nerf gun. In India, we had to change the title to like smallest toy gun. And again, that doesn't apply to people here, but the learning aspect I think does. So I think when I'm like backed into a corner, I don't know what to do, I look for the smartest people in the room around me, and I always try to learn because even though there's a lot that I can give them, there's a lot that they can give me.
So what I'm hearing is double down on your passions because that's what you're doing what you want to do already.
Yes, and never stop learning.
Okay, that's
yeah.
what I'm thinking.
Good answer.
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to say here is actually a little bit about Graham. So again, obviously he's been producing a lot of stuff, a lot of videos. Everybody watches his stuff, but he even gets tired, right? He gets burnt out. He has those things. So he finds other passions. So I think it was about a year ago, you made a post, I don't remember where it was, where you were talking about making some art. You remember this? Remember, right? And, you know, he basically said, hey, if anybody's out there that, you know, wanted to see this, you know, be a part of it. And so I reached out, and I actually own 2 original Graham Stephan paintings, lucky me, ha, ha, ha. But the point of the story is you can find other ways to let go and dive in, which will recharge other batteries, right? Because painting is one side of the brain, and you know, going deep in YouTube and these others isn't. So again, you can find other passions to help recharge. So I just wanted to say that.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks, guys. I've had a YouTube channel for several years, and in the beginning, I was just like really good at ranking videos in search. So I continued doing that trend, right? Like my niche is I do SBA financing, so business acquisitions, and I also help people buy franchises. But now that I think about it, like it works as far as like I'm monetized. I made a whole $2,200 this year, guys. $2,200. Yes. But now I kind of regret that I didn't like actually think about it. So what my content strategy was completely different than yours. What I do is I go, okay, I'm going to talk about the SBA 504 loan rates today, right? And I'll just shoot a video and I send it to my editor in the Philippines. And they're actually pretty good editors. I think you would say, oh, they're not bad. I mean, but when I heard you spend 12 hours, now I understand that I kind of figured out what I'm doing wrong is that I'm not thinking about it. I understand the whole thumbnail, you know, that kind of thing. And I guess the point is at what point would you consider, like, because I kind of think about doing like kind of like Cody Sanchez, like where she's doing like this ice business, and it'd be more fun for me, right? And I think it would actually, even though the real way I monetize my YouTube channel is people book a call with me and I help them get money or that, and monetizes quite well. But the big picture for me is to create more dynamic content because that's what I like to do. So what would be the feedback to would you do a second channel or would you just?
Like Alex said, if the audience isn't the same, I would do a second channel. So if it's going to be you out in the field talking to someone, or then I think there's going to be less of a crossover. But if you think the audience is the same and they'd love to see it, then one channel would be great. But I do think we are targeting a slightly different audience where people aren't calling me for business necessarily, and I'm really going for as wide of a reach as possible. And so that's why I constantly have to think of hooks. Of, when you're investing to do this, but you have to do this one thing if you really want. And then I have to lead into another thing to keep people engaged, whereas I don't really feel like you need to do that for the people who call you. So maybe for those videos, you might just want to be a bit more concise. And maybe instead of scripting, you could just do bullet points and say, I'm going to hit these 7 points, and I'm going to make sure each point is, a minute, give or take, so that the video itself is like 8. So it doesn't go too long.
But if I did go a little bit wider with I would get more people into my ecosystem, right? Like if I'm only narrowed down, that's where I think there's probably a little bit bigger expansion will to bring more people in instead of just being so SBA rates June or, that's what I'm trying to do is get a bigger audience.
Yeah, I love that. I think that I would spend more time thinking about it this way. I'm totally stealing Graham's story right now. I was going to tell him to tell, but I'm just going to tell you. He has this story where when he first started posting, he had to think of creative ways to get the layman interested in finance, people who weren't interested in finance. And so when you just said those words to me, they just went in my ear and out the other. And the example that Graham gave me that really stuck with me to this day, because I still tell this story, is, So he would post a video because he would tell all his friends about a Roth IRA. Literally, not even in YouTube, he'd be like, do you have a Roth IRA? You need a Roth IRA. Here's why you need a Roth IRA. Nobody cared until he rephrased it in his head, and he posted this video, and he titled it, How to Become a Tax-Free Millionaire. And suddenly, everybody was interested in the video. And so that story really shaped me in how I think of raising the content that you're doing today, because it's the same thing as when people make videos about taxes, and taxes are boring. But when we talk about how to save all this money, it's people get excited, or how to get a free Tesla or whatever it is. Yeah, $78 Tesla.
That's good. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I think I could go a little bit broader because really what I help people that are stuck in their job, right? So my topics could be people that want to transition and own their own business, and that's going to broaden it up, and I'll get more viewers and more people I'll be able to help more people that way.
Yeah, how to buy a franchise in 2025, and you help with an SBA loan through something like that, I think would be interesting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, cool. This one is more on a personal note. So we're all really busy. We all like to invest and do business and that kind of stuff. How do you manage your work-life balance with how you're doing this?
I really try to do, it sounds cliche, but I'll just do the most important stuff in the morning. And then if I fall behind, I'll make a to-do list basically the night before where I have to hit those 5 things. It might be filming this and scripting out this and coming up with the title thumbnail. So I have a list of things I need to do no matter what. And if for whatever reason I'm falling behind, I just don't end the day until those things are done. Those things will come first.
Okay. And Alex, for you, how do you manage your work-life balance?
I think that I'm at a different point in my life right now. I asked Graham the other day, I'm going to just give you all the dirty secrets of our relationship. I texted him the other day and I was like, hey, Graham, my friend really needs help doing the show from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. You think I should do it? He's like, no. He's like, just take some time and relax with your wife. And
he broke it down for hours.
Yeah.
What Alex's time was. One consulting call.
Yeah, so it's not worth it monetarily, but I really like the job. And so anyway, that's to say, I think that there's different times in your life, because my wife just took on a night gig because she wants to be an actor. But I told her, this is the finance bro in me, but I was like, you can't just quit your job and become an actor. So, but I will support you. I will support you to the end doing it, and then hopefully you can make more money, and then you can quit your job. So while she's doing that, I decided to also take this on. So I think right now I'm too focused on the grind mode, but I did specifically set aside Sundays to be with my wife. But it's hard. I think everybody is different, and everybody is in a different point in their life. Right now, to me, the sacrifice, probably because I'm younger and I think I have more energy to do it now, is worth it to just grind and stack some money, and I want to get another property eventually when it's time. But yeah, I don't know. Right now, I'm not focused on work-life balance, as bad as that sounds. Yeah, it just depends on where you're at in life, right? If I had a child, I think my approach would be so different. I would be like, I can't take on that side gig. I'm too busy being a parent, and there's nothing wrong with that. So
thank you both.
Yeah.
Hi, Graham. My name is Sean from Bakersfield, California. Just kind of have a general question. What's like a major setback that you've had in your career, and what did you do about it, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I think a big one is like the question that was asked earlier is like, what's next, or what's your bigger picture? I'm really struggling with that, and I've struggled with that for years of trying to figure out, what do I really enjoy doing? What do I want to continue doing? Where do I want to go from here? How do I make sure that I continue to challenge myself? And I don't have answers for any of those, and that's the one thing that I continually try to focus on and think of, and I don't have an answer. And that for me has been a recurring struggle for years.
Yeah. And real quick, I was wondering, would you autograph my name tag?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%.
Nicely played. Nicely played.
That was smooth.
So I need a picture of you because I'm going to give you one of these too. Obviously, I don't have it.
Yeah, no worries.
So how was that? Did anybody like that? So a couple of things. So first and foremost, Graham is one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my entire life. I've met lots of people. And to know he's welcomed me to his home. He's had Olivia there. We've gone to lunch. And he replies to my texts, and he doesn't have to do this. I mean, I'm a nobody, right? I mean, let's just 4,060,000. 4 million, right? It's not even in the same world, but we connected at Sean Cannell's 40th birthday party. I pitched him an idea to say, hey, can I talk about your early journey? That video happened. The relationship, he is just a wonderful human being. And Alex the Ninja, man, this guy is crazy. But again, guys, Graham doesn't have to be here. He is here. He wanted to come say hi. He started this community of one rental at a time, so let's clap it up.
Thank you.
And there you go. You are a champion.
This is heavy.
It's legit, baby.
Oh my gosh.
I don't play around. I expect that in the background in one of your videos.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, at least one time, Graham, in the back of the video
right?
someday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, can we get, hey, where's my cameraman here?
Wow.
Let's get a picture of Graham raising his hands with the belt. You don't mind.
Wait, do it facing the other way.
Oh, no. Yeah, let's switch.
You come this
face
way
with the
and
crowd behind you.
Yeah, that'll be a good selfie.
Professionals. Thank you. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for your time and coming out. You're in good hands, and I really appreciate you listening to this.
And yes, Alex will get a belt. I didn't know we were getting the Ninja, so I don't have it here. But he will get a belt as well. That much I promise. So, folks, stay put. I got a couple announcements to make. I'm going to whisk Graham and Alex away so they don't get swarmed. We're gonna sneak them out. I'll be right back.
Follow me on Instagram,
follow Olivia right there.
Alex_Nava_photography. Thank you.
At Alex on Instagram.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell him. Go ahead.
No. It was a joke. I always
okay.
used to plug my Instagram on his socials. That was the joke. I was like, yeah. Oh yeah. I used to also. This is a true story. Sorry, I have to tell this now. Thank you, Lexar, the memory card company. They paid me behind Graham's back on the podcast to plug them, and they haven't sent me a check in years. But thank you. There you go.
Alex, again, I'll get you a belt. I just need a picture. Okay. Thanks, Graham. Thanks, Alex. All right, so that's day one. We've got a couple more hours together, but how are we doing so far? Yeah, that's pretty good, right? So just to know, so the next 2 hours is networking. You will have food, and about an hour in, we will do cakes and cupcakes just to celebrate everything. So again, 2 hours of networking. Have fun. Let's go.